David, what are we learning?
So FTX filed in the U.S. bankruptcy court for the District of Delaware, and the company is estimated to have anywhere between $10 and $50 billion dollars in assets and liabilities, and that would be split between at least 100,000 creditors. So some context, we've followed up to this point during the sort of ongoing saga of FTX's liquidity crunch this week. We were focusing on FTX US, the US subsidiary, FTX International, sort of the point of what seemed like was the issue initially, and Alameda Research, the trading firm. Now, what this bankruptcy filing shows us is that there's actually a much more complicated picture, about 130 affiliated shell companies in the FTX empire, you could say. The big through line here is that Sam Bankman-Fried is the founder and CEO of FTX and founded all these other companies and had held a majority stake at that time. Now, if we take a second and look at what's not in this filing, the crypto lender BlockFi, which FTX has extended a $400 million line of credit, and Voyager Digital are both not mentioned. Now, BlockFi hasn't declared bankruptcy, but it has paused withdrawals as of last night. Voyager Digital is bankrupt, but they were expecting a buyout, or sort of in the process of figuring out a buyout of customer assets for about the tune of $1.4 billion from FTX. And you have to assume that something like that is compromised at this point, being that FTX has declared bankruptcy. So there's a lot of investors, equity investors, retail investors on the platform, and of course, FTX employees who are all also involved, and they will likely show up as creditors to some extent. So that's what we have now. There's still a ton of questions left unanswered, but now that we have the bankruptcy process, we are going to have a lot more eyes into what was going on at FTX in terms of their balance sheet hole that sort of led to this problem. Dave?
What a mess. Thanks so much, David Hollerith. Let's get over to Jared Blikre now to look at how we got here. Jared?
How we got here, this occurred over a very short period of time. I'm looking at a 12-day chart of Bitcoin right here, and really things got started last Wednesday, and I have a timeline for you just to draw this out. And first, we got reports at CoinDesk, this is from CoinDesk, reporting that SBF's Alameda Research, they hold much of the reserves in FTT. That's their proprietary token. Why was that important? Because when you pile leverage on top of leverage, and it's not disclosed, well, that rug can be pulled, and that's what happened. Secondly, on November 6th, so this is basically over the weekend, CZ over at Binance saying they will sell its FTT holdings. And CZ and SBF, well, they were trading barbs on Twitter. And if we advance, a couple days later, Binance offers to buy FTX. FTT plummets by 75%. And let me go back to our chart here, because November 8th, that's when we're talking about some of these big declines that we were seeing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's kind of when the bottom fell out of the crypto market, hitting Bitcoin, of course, as well. And we advance even further. So here's what happened next. November 9th, Binance backs out of the FTX deal, if it was ever a deal in the first place, because I'm not even sure they got to the MOU stage. But the SEC and the CFTC, they begin their investigation of FTX. Alameda and Crypto.com, they halt withdrawals. They disable borrowing out of an abundance of caution. Well, that's another bad sign. And now we're getting towards the end here, towards the present day. This is yesterday, actually. Alameda stops trading, and then FTX seeks $9.4 billion in rescue funds from a couple of different funds, including Sequoia, who they took money from quite a while ago. SBF warning of trading pause, and that is kind of the death knell, because today FTX filed for bankruptcy and SBF resigns. And let me go back to my chart here. We've seen the Bitcoin chart, but let me just show you on a heat map what has happened this week. So this is going to be the picture of today, and over the last 7 days, wow, look at where we've come here. So Bitcoin, we covered that, down 21%, Ethereum down 22%, XRP down 24%, but you take a look at some of the wipeouts. Of course, the token of FTX, FTT USD, that is down almost 90%. Solana, completely unrelated, but getting caught up in the maelstrom, that's down 56%. And there is much, much more that we're going to learn next week, but this is probably going to take years and years to sort out. Very complicated matter here. Rochelle?